In the lonely parts of the Nevada desert, hidden beneath a pile of rocks, investigators stumbled upon the body of a woman. Her death wasn't an accident. It was the result of a dark plan crafted by those she thought were her friends.
This is the 17-page arrest report into the murder of 23-year-old Marayna Rodgers. According to this report, her suspected killers planned it all out before dumping her body in a rocky desert area of Henderson.
She had been drawn away from safety, not knowing the danger she was in. This high-profile case started as a missing person investigation of a well-educated and beautiful young lady, but it ended with kidnapping and plotted murder of a sex worker.
This is Marayna Rodgers, a 23-year-old woman visiting Las Vegas from Washington State who was killed on December 6th. Metro Police say they learned she was a sex worker who thought she was meeting a client, also known as a trick.
By the way, I post true crime and strange cases here weekly, so if that sounds like your kind of thing, please consider subscribing. It really helps a lot.
Stupid ass dude. It's nice to meet you, right? Y'all been here? Dude, is he the only one who works here? Because it's starting to fucking murk.
This is the story of Marayna Rodgers. Before we begin, we would love to extend our deepest condolences to the family and friends of Marayna Rodgers and everyone else affected by that loss. This story takes us all the way to the vibrant city of Las Vegas. Las Vegas is a city of stark contrasts. Beyond the neon lights and luxury casinos lies a hidden world of vice and crime. It's a place where people from all walks of life come to seek a fortune, but often find themselves caught in a web of deception and danger. Marayna, like many before her, underestimated the perilous nature of the world she had entered. Marayna Rodgers was a vibrant young woman who hailed from Washington State. Born and raised in a small town, she grew up in a close-knit community where she was known for her lively spirit and kindness. Marayna was a beloved daughter, sister, and friend, and those who knew her recall her infectious laughter and her unyielding loyalty to those she cared about. From an early age, Marayna faced challenges that tested her resilience. Despite these challenges, she remained determined to build a better life for herself. After graduating from Lincoln High School, Marayna decided to pursue her nursing career at the University of Washington, Bothell, in 2018, after which she worked as a medical assistant at Providence Sacred Heart Medical Center. While she was there, she became a certified phlebotomist after graduating from the Northwest Phlebotomy School in 2022. After this, she began working as a scrub nurse at the Over Lake Hospital Medical Center in April 2023. One would think that with all these qualifications, Marayna would be relaxed and felt she had achieved to an extent. However, this was not the case, as Marayna was always looking for ways to improve herself. She seized an opportunity to work remotely as a field agent for the PHP agency in October 2023 in a bid to earn some extra cash. Marayna was doing well financially, but things would soon change when she lost the man who meant everything to her, her protector and her go-to person. Marayna lost her father, and this was no easy burden for her to bear. However, she was determined to continue her education despite the struggles she may have to go through. The loss of her father made Marayna vulnerable to preying friends who engaged in all sorts of activities for money. And being one who loved making money, and coupled with the loss of her dad, Marayna decided to move to a larger city in pursuit of better opportunities. It was during this time that she became entangled in a world that would ultimately lead her down a dangerous path. The pressures of making ends meet and the lure of quick money led Marayna into a world of jobs she never saw herself doing. While this choice came with significant risks, Marayna saw it as a temporary solution, a means to an end. She believed that she could navigate this world while staying true to herself and her values. Sadly, this belief would make her a target for people who saw her as unimportant or disposable. In December 2023, Marayna traveled to Las Vegas with her boyfriend, known only by his alias, Tremaine, to engage in this illegal job of hers, which she was introduced to by her newly found team. The city, known for its deceptive nature, which is a mix of good and bad sides, has a darker side, where desperation and exploitation often interact. For Marayna, this trip was supposed to be a lucrative opportunity, but it would turn out to be her last. We would further discuss how she came to meet this new team of hers in the first place. During prerequisite visits to Las Vegas, Marayna and Tremaine crossed paths with a certain girl known as Sakari Harnden. Sakari, a 19-year-old from Washington, had a troubled past and a reputation for being involved in dubious activities. She was someone who thrived on control and manipulation, and would later see Marayna as both a threat and a pawn in her twisted game. The events which would later lead to Marayna's murder were caused by a series of escalating conflicts between her and Sakari. According to reports, the two women had known each other prior to their meeting in Las Vegas. Their relationship was strained by jealousy and mistrust, which only intensified as they spent more time together in the city. The tension reached a boiling point on December 4th, 2023, when Marayna allegedly got into an argument with Sakari because she got a hint that Sakari had implicated her rapper boyfriend, Ioshua, in a double homicide case in San Joaquin County, California, involving 24-year-old Andrea Lee Jones and 29-year-old Jacob Haywood Thomas, a rapper also known as Jay Black, causing Marayna's boyfriend to be arrested. The killings happened in March, while the arrest was made in May. This means information got out that led police to act on Marayna's boyfriend, and Marayna knew the exact peddler. This accusation made Sakari very angry, and the fact she herself also got a hint that Marayna was spreading the news made her see it as a direct threat to her safety and freedom. She believed that Marayna was intentionally trying to sabotage her life, and she resolved to take drastic action. Sakari decided to confide in 27-year-old Chance Comanche, a basketball player with the Stockton Kings, and someone who she met online about a year ago and began dating. Although they ended their relationship, they remained in touch, and Sakari also knew Chance was crazily in love with her. In fact, she claimed he could do anything for her. She told him about her issues with Marayna and her plans for Marayna. Chance, who had his own history of violence and criminal behavior, was more than willing to help Sakari eliminate the perceived threat. Together, they devised a plan to lure Marayna away from her friends and silence her permanently. His first point of action was calling his homie, a common word nowadays, Trivian aka Trey, who agreed to find some hits to do the job. The price to do the job instantly was $3,000. However, when none of the crew members expressed interest in the job, Chance and Sakari decided to do it themselves. The plan was both cruel and calculated. They decided to use Marayna's trust against her and her vulnerability as someone who was far from home and relying on them for companionship and support. Sakari arranged a meeting with Marayna under the pretense of needing her help with a client. Knowing that Marayna would agree without hesitation, she told Marayna, who was already used to the business, that some NBA players would be coming into town and that they could hook up with some of them and make as much as $4,000 per night. And yes, you guessed correctly, the illegal job mentioned ever since was prostitution. Marayna, under the influence of Sakari and her boyfriend, had been involved in prostitution ever since she got into Las Vegas. So this proposal from Sakari wasn't something she wasn't familiar with. Moving on, Sakari's friend Garrett was responsible for transporting Marayna and Tremaine to the hotel room, where she was eventually supposed to meet with the NBA players. Remember that the NBA players were not actually coming there, and this was all a plot. Sakari began thinking of a plan that would enable her to lure Marayna into a trap without attracting attention. If you would remember clearly, Tremaine followed Marayna to the hotel, meaning no harm could come to her there without his notice. In no time, Sakari had hit the perfect plan. She told Marayna to place a sex worker ad, in which Chance would then reply with a text and pose as the client. She did this, and in no time, they agreed to meet for $1,000. The murder plot was now in motion. In the late hours of December 5th, 2023, just last year, Marayna was driven to an unknown location by Garrett, who dropped her off at the location where Sakari was, unaware that he was delivering her into the hands of her killers. However, he noticed the person sitting at the back of the car which had come to pick Marayna up, and he got suspicious and asked Sakari who he was. Sakari simply responded that he was the client, paying them for their services. The explanation wasn't satisfying enough, but he took it and asked no further questions. As he watched Sakari drive away with Marayna in a Mercedes filled with suitcases, he had no idea that this would be the last time he would see her alive. When Chance Comanche saw Marayna, she didn't fit the description earlier given to him. Sakari had portrayed her as a thief who stole a Rolex watch from one of her clients, a watch that Sakari managed to steal from her too, and claimed that Marayna promised to deal with her if she refused to return it. Even though she didn't match the description, Chance would do anything to please the love of his life, so he carried on with the plan anyways. They intended to get some liquor on their way to a friend's place. When they got to the liquor store, Marayna and Sakari went in, as seen in the surveillance camera footage, while Chance stayed in the car. However, while they were in there, Sakari discovered that the friend who owned the place they were going to no longer lived there. She communicated this to Chance via telegram, and they acknowledged that a cul-de-sac was around the corner and decided to carry it out there instead. A cul-de-sac is a dead-end street with a rounded end, often found in residential neighborhoods. It allows cars to turn around easily because it usually has a circular or semicircular shape at the end. The term comes from French meaning bottom of the sack, and it's commonly used in urban planning. When they got to the cul-de-sac, Sakari notified Marayna that the client wanted to have kinky sex, which involved him tying them both. A set of plastic zip ties were already in the car, and Marayna, who wasn't aware of the plan, began pulling her clothes. Sakari pulled hers too, so as not to arouse suspicion from Marayna, while Marayna, who was sitting in the front seat, had her hands outstretched in order to have them tied. Sakari also pretended to stretch her hands out to have them tied as well. And when they had successfully had her where they wanted, Chance got an HDMI cord, placed it around her neck, and began strangling her. Marayna, who at this point had realized what was happening, began to struggle, but to no avail, as Sakari sat on her already bound hands, making it impossible for her to break free. Chance began to tighten the grip of the cord, and the more he did, the more Marayna lost her breath. When Chance took notice of this, he flinched and aborted the mission, which was already almost completed. Sakari, seeing this and determined to get Marayna out of the way, seized her by the neck and strangled the last breath out of her, thus completing the mission. With cold precision, they snuffed out Marayna's life. After the murder, they drove about 20 miles outside Las Vegas. At about 4:17 a.m., where they finally found a deserted area in Henderson, Nevada, where they threw Marayna out and covered her body with rocks in an attempt to hide their crime. They then smashed her phone, hoping to destroy any evidence that could link them to the murder. With the deed done, they returned to their lives believing that they had gotten away with the perfect crime. After completing the mission, they were then seen in a grocery store grabbing shopping carts to buy lemons, cooking knives, oranges, and salt, probably to cover any forensic evidence against them, after which Chance left to join his team on a flight out of Las Vegas. But things were about to start boiling up. Early the next morning, Sakari got a call from Tremaine asking about Marayna's whereabouts. Sakari claimed that she used another Uber in going to see a different client. Tremaine found that pretty hard to believe, considering the fact that Marayna didn't have another driver apart from him, and he knew very well he didn't take her anywhere else. So to confirm her story, he called Uber to inquire if Marayna had used a different Uber driver. Uber confirmed that someone was picked up from a nearby location to where Marayna was. However, she wasn't the one the driver picked up. Tremaine got very furious and threatened Sakari that if she didn't come clean with Marayna's whereabouts, that he and Garrett were going to get her sister and cause her harm. Sakari, who didn't want her sister to get in harm's way, began crying. So in a bid to cover her tracks, she went to a nearby police station and declared Marayna missing. Marayna was also reported missing on December 7th, 2023 by two of her friends. Summer, and Gabby, who told investigators that she was a working prostitute and had left the night before to meet Sakari. The investigation quickly intensified as law enforcement officers, including a detective and an FBI agent, began piecing together the events leading up to Marayna's disappearance. The investigators, who wanted to have a routine questioning with Sakari, decided to call her but received no response. More frantic efforts made to reach her fell on deaf ears, prompting the officers to use a pinging technology in determining her location. She was found and eventually brought in for questioning. However, after a series of questioning, it was evident that the investigators had their culprit, as she was guilty of mixing her story with equal elements of truth and lies. More suspicion soon fell on Sakari and Chance when investigators discovered inconsistencies in their stories. Sakari had initially claimed that Marayna had left in an Uber after their meeting, but further investigation revealed that this was a lie. The authorities then obtained a digital forensic search warrant and uncovered damning evidence in the form of messages between Sakari and Chance on the app Telegram. These messages, spanning from November 30th to December 6, 2023, revealed the couple's discussions on how to kill Marayna and their attempts to cover up the crime. On December 13th, 2023, Sakari was arrested on suspicion of kidnapping, and Chance was arrested the following day. During his interrogation, Chance confessed to his role in the murder, detailing how he and Sakari had lured Marayna away from her friends with the intention of killing her. He admitted that they had tried to get someone else to do it, but when that failed, they decided to carry out the murder themselves. His confession was the final piece of evidence needed to charge both him and Sakari with Marayna's murder. The arrest of Sakari Harnden and Chance Comanche shocked both their communities and the broader public. The brutal nature of the crime, coupled with the fact that it had been committed by two young people with seemingly bright futures, left many people surprised. As the legal proceedings began, the families of both the victim and the accused were thrust into the spotlight. Marayna's family, devastated by the loss of their beloved daughter, demanded justice for the heinous act that had taken her life. Meanwhile, the families of Sakari and Chance were left to face the reality that their children were accused of murder. The trial was highly publicized, with the media closely following every development.
Let's stand up on the red mark, face the judge.
Instead of the basketball court, former Stockton Kings player Chance Comanche found himself in a different court, a Sacramento County courtroom, accused of murder. Wearing a jail-issued orange jumpsuit, the 27-year-old waived his extradition to Nevada to face charges of murder and conspiracy to commit murder in the killing of 23-year-old Marayna Rodgers.
The prosecution presented a compelling case built on the evidence gathered from the crime scene. Little messages between Sakari and Chance's own confession. The defense, on the other hand, struggled to counter the overwhelming evidence against their clients. As the trial progressed, it became clear that both Sakari and Chance would likely face severe consequences for their actions. The case was not just about punishing those responsible for Marayna's death, but also about sending a message that such callous disregard for human life would not be tolerated. The murder of Marayna Rodgers raises important questions about the psychological and social factors that contribute to such violent acts. Both Sakari and Chance came from backgrounds that, on the surface, appear to be ordinary. However, a deeper examination reveals underlying issues that may have played a role in their descent into criminality. Sakari, for instance, exhibited traits commonly associated with manipulative and controlling behavior. Her ability to convince Chance to participate in the murder suggests a deep-seated need for power and dominance. Furthermore, her willingness to go to such extreme lengths to eliminate a perceived threat indicates a lack of empathy and moral compass. Chance, on the other hand, was a former professional athlete who had once been on the path to success. His involvement in the crime points to a possible history of poor decision-making and a susceptibility to negative influences. The fact that he was willing to commit the crime for the sole reason of love, thereby jeopardizing his career in the process, exhibited his negative sense of reasoning. Many would blame Marayna, claiming she could have done something different to stay alive. Something like she could have seen through the fact that Sakari was not really over their beef and that it was a plot all along. Well, We all have our different natures. While many hold on to resentment, there are still a few that believe in forgiveness and second chances. From the look of events, Marayna was one of the latter, who deserves our applause and not our blame, don't you think? Let us know your thoughts in the comment section. Thank you so much once again for watching another video by Wednesday Crime. If you like the way we bring you stories or you learned something new today, please like this video and consider subscribing to the channel if you haven't yet. As always, remember to leave your thoughts in the comments section below. Perhaps someone learns from your experience or advice. I will talk to you again in another video. It's bye for now.